Hey guys, Martial Arts Militia here. My name is Matthew, and today's video is going to be a range report on the 6-hour P250 compact and 2 sub. You guys may recall from a previous video that I do have the 6-hour P250 2 sub. This is nothing more than an additional FCU along to go with a full-size and subcompact frame. So you can decide where you want to put the FCU, full-size or subcompact. Mine is currently in the subcompact, and it was just kind of a neat deal, I thought. Now, of course, I did end up getting the actual P250 compact. That way I have all 3 frames. I can switch, mix and match between all 3. Now, this range report came about because I was reading on the P250 and there appeared to be quite a few criticisms about it. That it was unreliable, that it can't use hollow points, it failed to meet the standards of the US Air Marshal and Dutch police. So that's looking pretty, looking pretty grave. But I figured since I had all 3 frames, I can pretty much just test it myself. Now, these criticisms most likely do apply to Gen 1 rather than Gen 2, and I don't have a Gen 1, but if you ever want to know the differences. So the Gen 2, the Picatinny rail is a M1913 Picatinny, whereas on Gen 1 it's kind of curved. And then the logo of 6-hour is placed upper on the Gen 2 than it is on the Gen 1, which is more middle. And then the front stippling is Gen 2, whereas it'd be ridged on Gen 1, and then finger cutouts on Gen 2, which doesn't exist on Gen 1. So I can't test the Gen 1 because I don't have Gen 1. These were all Gen 2s, but at least I can put to rest if, these criticisms apply to the whole line or just Gen 1 of the 6-hour P250. Now for the range report, I brought 295 total rounds. 100 of them were cellular and below 9mm 115 grain. 150 was Fiocchi target max, and then I also had 40 random hollow point and 5 ball ammunition, just to kind of throw a bunch of random things at the SIG P250 to test that unreliable and hollow point theory. As usual, I shot at 7 yards, average mean distance of a lethal confrontation according to Paul Harrell. We all miss and we love Paul Harrell. Now, as far as the results, here is target 1. I'll put a close-up here for you guys. As you can see, it's very lower right cluster. That's okay. Keep in mind, this is a double action only gun. Okay, so it can be a little challenging to keep the trigger where it needs to go. And in the presentation, I talked about how the triggers changed depending on which FCU and which combination of frame, so if you wanted to put a full size on a compact frame or a compact slide on a subcompact frame, it does change the triggers. But this combination in compact, there's kind of like a wall near the end, so you could stage the trigger, but then that wall kind of throws me off because I gotta use more pressure to go through it. So that's my excuse. That's my excuse why the target is not as good as it could be. Now, as far as the bullets, those were the 40 hollow points and the 5 ball. So, the 3 hollow points were Fiocchi, 32 were Hornady, 5 were RIP, radical invasive projectile, but most people call it rest in peace ammunition, and then 5 random ball. And P250 went through all 45 rounds, no problem. It didn't hiccup on anything, so it passed reliability and it passed hollow point. So, of course, that's a small sample, but I mean, for what I had, it's pretty good. Next, we have target 2, which I have right here. I'll be sure to give you guys a close-up of this. And here, the bullets are coming up more upper left. And that was shot with the subcompact. So I put the FCU in the subcompact. And the trigger for this, it's a lot smoother because there's not that weird wall that existed with the compact. but also it's kind of slopey. So if my trigger finger is on like a different spot, then it will kind of like, it's like the trigger will complete here. If I'm up here, I'll end up sliding my finger down to get to that point. So that in a way makes inconsistent trigger, because my trigger finger isn't on the same spot, you know what I mean? So again, yes, the FCUs tend to have different triggers, which I believe was affected by the frame itself slide. So just because that FCU had that reaction, if I put it in a different combination, it might be a different trigger. I do remember there was like 2 of them where I would almost call the gun unserviceable. You couldn't use it because you pull all the way through, but then it hadn't fired yet, and you had to like pull some more or something, and then it would fire, or it was delayed. So that is pretty big concern, I would say, on the P250 line. But for that combination, it was okay. There was just some slope that you had to hit in order to get the trigger to complete. Now with the subcompact, that was all done with cellular and below. So it went through 50 rounds of cellular and below ammunition, and it had no issues, no malfunctions. So once again, perfect. Now usually at this point, I'm sure we would consider using the full-size frame, but of course I have to decide which FCU, right? The compact FCU or the subcompact FCU. I actually decided to make a long slide. Now I'm using that term incorrectly because long slides are typically full-size guns. What I'm talking about is I'm using a compact frame in a full-size with a full-size slide. So I've got my compact gun, and it's very easy to switch these out, which I'm sure you'll see in the P250 presentation video. If you've watched that, it's very easy. So you take out the magazine, lock it back, then you're going to push this lever down, and then it comes out. Very easy. So with the long slide, I'm simply just putting the full-size slide on the compact frame. And the reason I'm doing that is because I remember that this was the best trigger in the universe. It really is the best trigger in the universe. So there you go, compact frame, full-size slide. And again, as I said, the trigger is the best. I mean, there is no wall here. Guys, this is illegal. This is the best trigger in the universe. There's no wall. It doesn't matter where my finger is placed. It's just absolutely perfect trigger. So I had to shoot this. You guys know I had to shoot this, okay? So that's what I did for target 3. The target 3, I put right here. So here's this guy, target 3. I'll put a close-up here for you guys. For target 3, I believe I did 50 cellular and below through the long slide, right? Along with 100 rounds of Fiocchi Target Max, or 50, sorry. I did 100 total, so it's gonna be this S&B and then the Fiocchi. So that's all went there. And then the last 50 Fiocchi rounds, I actually put through the head. So right here, this guy, at the last 50 rounds. Now, as far as the long slide going through 150 rounds, I would like to say there were no malfunctions, but that's not necessarily true. There was a malfunction. I believe it was at shot 188. So at shot 188, this gun locked up. You couldn't, well, it locked up where you couldn't move the slide, but you could, but it just took an insane amount of force. And even if I did get it to come back, it wasn't coming back. It wasn't coming back into action. You know, like it was stuck somehow. So of course I'm like, well, can I, lock it back, switch the slides? I could not. This lever was just stuck. So the only thing I ended up doing, which I don't advise, is I just dropped around in there, dropped the slide, and then fired the gun. And it went back into service. Don't do that. I did that, but don't do that, okay? After that, it did work again. There was no other malfunctions after that. So just one malfunction, which I would consider a serious malfunction, which is disappointing, because again, I do love this trigger, and I have no problems making this my main fighting gun. But Because of that, I'd have to shoot 300 rounds again. No problem for me to consider it to be ready for self-defense. That was the only malfunction with the P250 long slide. I did have to switch hands just because my trigger finger was hurting after a while. I think it was from shots 133 and 150, like just 17 shots. But I did come back eventually. But other than that, I mean, it was a good range, you know. With this trigger especially, I found it hard to slow down when shooting, you know, just because I'm on and the trigger is ready to go, right? And that is the way that Paul Harrell talks about the double action trigger, right? You don't want to sit here smooth, right? You do want to kind of just pull through. But you don't want to jerk the trigger either, right? So there's a nice medium balance there, and I just find this trigger in the long slide to be the absolute best. It did get pretty hard to slow down when shooting though. Now, the results for the P250 in regards to Gen 2, I would say that those criticisms don't apply. If I had a Gen 1, it may very well not have fired hollow points. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen a Gen 1 P250 on Gunbroker, but they probably exist. Or maybe you guys have one and you'd be willing to test it out and say, yep, doesn't work. I'll just tell you for this one, Gen 2, they do work. I got very lucky with this FCU that likes this long slide combination. Easily the best trigger ever, clearly, you know. But it does make me ask a couple questions. So the first is that, you know, the P250 is the predecessor of the P320. And so I wondered, does the P320, which there's a lot out there so you guys can verify, does its trigger change depending on the different frame sizes? Because you can change them as well, like I can here. You know, is it different? Is it better? Is it worse? Like for here, right? It's pretty clear to me one is better or worse, or a little bit better, a little bit worse. And then I also wonder, is it the FCU that's responsible for the trigger or not? For example, can I put the subcompact FCU in the long slide and get the same results? Which, by the way, I tried and I didn't get the same result. So it's not just the FCU. Something in here, the combination of the firing control unit and the frame and the slide makes a trigger good, bad, or unserviceable. I have no idea, you know? So that does make me worry, is like, well, can I never use like a Wilson Combat frame because this frame works, this FCU works with this frame and slide, and I get that amazingly perfect trigger. If I switch it to a Wilson Combat, will it not be there anymore, right? Pretty serious concerns. So that's all the results I had about the 6 Hour P250 compact and twosome. I'll be sure to roll the range footage here for you guys. If you have any questions, you can always leave them down in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye now.
martial art! Martial arts, go!